do you ever have to explain why you play rock music as people of color? Because I know for me, people always ask me since early college, late high school, how did you get into, like, why do you like this group? I don't understand. It's like, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely
Yeah,
do because I went to school
absolutely,
in Bushwick.
absolutely.
And everybody listens to, for the most part, everyone I grew up with listens to hip hop and R&B. And when I was in high school, I was into all of that stuff. And I had a couple door knocker earrings here and there, and that was my vibe. And then I was always listening to different music growing up because my mom and my dad had like had tons of CDs, and my dad loved music so much, so he introduced me to a whole bunch of different artists that I couldn't talk to any of my friends in school about. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And then I was also, into all the stuff that my peer groups were into. And so now when anybody from high school sees me on social media, they're just like, "Oh, you a rock star now? Since when?" It's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, well, when I was in high school though, I was I didn't find like rock music out until I was like in film school. So but in high school, everything like Ali was saying was like hip hop and R&B driven, or not really. To me, I'm a little kind of like different about what I consider R&B. So a lot of like the hip hop or the stuff that was being called R&B when I was in high school, to me it was just like rap. It was the same type of thing because again, I grew up with
None
my
of the
dad playing.
music with them dancing in the rain. You didn't
Yeah,
consider R&B.
right. Because I grew up with my dad playing Temptations, Otis Red, and Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. So the part though that I did like about hip hop was that I knew every single sample, and I was always able to impress my different friends or different people who were into that because I knew the original song because my dad had played all those records. So that was at the time when most of the rap was all like R&B loops. So I was never the guy that was into rap, honestly. It's like only for like a certain. I was only really the only rap that I liked when I was in school was like conscious rap. So it was like Mos Def, Common, the Roots and stuff like that, and like old Ice-T and stuff like that. So I was never really into like the current stuff, but I respected it, and I knew where it came from. So as I got older and got into doing rock and stuff like that, I never had no one never really raised any eyebrows or was really kind of like no one ever really questioned me what I was doing. I guess probably because I guess I had like Jimmy shining down on me from heaven, just like giving people, hey, look, man, this guy looks too cool. He knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? So, but I've always though wanted to educate myself because I knew that I was going to be like probably the only person that looked like me doing that until I met Aly, but just in general. So I would always like look up there who who are people that do this that look like me. It's because I know it has to be more than just Lenny Kravitz and like Jimi Hendrix. So
Yeah.
I went into the and vaults rather and started like studying and finding out about like the first black rock band like Black Murder from Detroit, and then I found out about Def, the first black punk band, which actually like if you listen to their first record that they had shelved in a vault, it sounds like the Ramones before the Ramones even came out, and then Bad Brains and all that, and then my favorite rock artist still to this day is Arther Lee of Love, who again was really tight with Jimi Hendrix and everything like that, and was just like a pioneer of all that stuff. So that gave me like confidence, just knowing that I knew all of these great, you know, artists of color that did what they did, and it was just because when I just meet somebody and all they know is just Jimi Hendrix, I'm like, well, you not it's this is so much more complex.
Yeah.
He had people that he idolized and stuff like that. And so I think that's kind of like the box that sometimes people might want to put me and Aly in, is that like, oh, you know, like Zoe Kravitz, or you're like Gary Clark Jr. or stuff like that, and it's like and it's like, you know, and I think that comes from a place really just of not intentionally being bad, but it's just lack of information. Like if all you know to if all you're seeing in the media is this one person, so now you're going to associate everything with that person. But if you honestly knew that we were complex, and that there's there's so many artists of color that Aly and I draw from, that we send each other and that we put each other onto, that most people might not know. Like most people might not know who Arther Lee is. A lot of people don't know about death or about black murder or about, you know, a lot of this stuff. But it's our job to educate ourselves so that we can educate people and be like, well, you know, we know the history of rock and roll, and it's so wide, and it's so many different trailblazers that don't even get you know, mentioned. Even like Mickey and Sylvia was a black rock and roll duo, and she was a phenomenal guitar player, but ended up being like the godmother of hip hop, which was, she was responsible for Rapper's Delight. So, and people don't even know that she was in a rock band prior to basically laying down the blueprint for hip hop. But these are things that I pride myself on, like kind of knowing,
Yeah.
so that if we ever have a conversation and people like, you know, do that and say, oh, you know, you're just like this guy. Well, no, I'm really not like this guy. And that guy that you're saying that I'm like is not like the person you're saying he's like. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because you know, so
Yeah.
I guess
For a long time, like
hopefully that makes sense.
the only person, like the woman of color that I was just like running around, like I felt like I had a connection to, was Tina Turner. And then Tommy put me on to Betty Davis, and I was like, oh shit, so much like
Then there's Sister
personality.
Rosetta Tharpe.
I'm sorry.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe, you know about her?
I know Sister
Yeah.
Rosetta Tharpe. Yeah. Oh man. We
So
can't talk about this. Never mind.
yeah, we better, hey girl, bring it. There's no filter. He said no filter. Don't hide.
we,
Come on.
there was
And
like a point where we were recording with at a spot, and this person who was recording us had like zero knowledge of rock music, or people of color in rock. And we had we had
zero, bro.
we had
Zero.
brought
And
up
so
Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and this person was just not receptive to what we were saying. And then we realized, oh, you don't know who the fuck we're talking about.